lot of discussion in my home state of Oregon about offshore wind, and some excitement and some concern at the same time. My local fishermen have engaged me and BOEM and a lot of local partners along the coast with the process and some of the things that have gone on. We've had some folks in the wave energy space also try and acknowledge opportunities there. And the concern has become not all through the fault of BOEM because they are a reactive agency. They basically, if someone applies for a lease, they then go through their processes and try and do the right thing as per their regulatory framework that's established. But there is no opportunity for either Vestas or whoever to get some certainty up front about, is this a suitable area for leasing? What does the local community think about it? And from my standpoint, more importantly, what do my fishermen and fisherwomen think about it? That's a big deal. So it's really important that I think we develop some sort of process. Maybe you have had experience with your leases in other parts of the country and your projects in other parts of the country, to how we go about engaging the fishermen, engaging the local communities that aren't necessarily governmental agencies. BOEM's framework, you have to be a governmental agency to get on any of the task force. So how should we build opportunity in for the local input on the Pacific Coast? Ms. Eichel, and then maybe Mr. Hardy and Mr. Mann.
Well, first, thank you for your question. For starters, I think as an industry, we absolutely believe that fisheries and offshore wind can coexist. And BOEM's current offshore wind leasing process does consider other uses when they're leasing and permitting offshore wind projects, and those do include commercial and recreational fisheries. It's not to say that it's the perfect process, and it's certainly one I think we as an industry would like to engage with you and discuss further. But from what we have seen to date, the BOEM process itself does allow for the input from fishing communities, and it also allows us to think differently about and to hear from the industry directly. Are there areas that we should think differently about turbine spacing and layouts and make modifications to that? And in fact, it's not all that different from what we do when we're doing onshore wind and thinking about what we were talking about earlier, migratory birds, or when you're trying to site a new oil and gas facility and dealing with a lesser prairie chicken or other endangered species. There are existing programs within the agencies to make sure that there's the right feedback mechanism. Do we have it perfect? Probably not, but it's something we'd love an opportunity to work with you on.
Mr. Hardy?
Yeah, I agree with most of what, or all of what Ms. Eichel said. I think that the current programs the commercial fishermen and recreational fishermen do have a voice. I think it's a misstatement to say they don't. I think companies like Ørsted, we have a marine affairs organization that's 10 plus people that are dedicated to this, plus third-party consultants that we hire. We talk to recreational commercial fishers on all of our projects. As Ms. Eichel alluded to, we've made compromises already on layouts to create a larger one-by-one nautical square mile. If we were purely doing this in our own interest, we would have those turbines kind of more densely packed, but we opened up the design so that the commercial fishermen could fish within the wind farms and could transit them in a safe manner. We've also come up with other compensatory programs for the fishermen for lost gear, for lost catch, et cetera, and we're working with NOAA, NIMS Fisheries data to try to coexist with the commercial fishermen. So it's a part of our program.
So those are some of the things we'd want to engage with and make as conditions of approval, perhaps, as we get into that, where there's an opportunity to have those discussions.
Just quickly, I think if we could have some pre-aligned programs where the fisheries knew what they would get and we knew what it would cost us, that would be helpful. Right now, it's quite bilateral.